All right, today we're diving into a really powerful idea, something that could completely change how you approach your life's path. It's all about strategic living.
So, have you ever had this happen? I mean, you do everything right. You put in all the work, you follow every single step perfectly, and then the whole thing just collapses. It is so frustrating, right? Well, the answer might not be in what you're doing, but in where you're doing it.
Okay, just imagine this for a second. You've hired the best architects on the planet. You've got the most advanced tools, the best steel, the best concrete, you name it. And your workers? The absolute best in the business. Literally every single piece of the puzzle is perfect.
But here's the catch. You've decided to build this incredible masterpiece on a sand beach. So what happens? You already know. Total disaster. The foundation just sinks, and the whole thing comes crashing down. All that perfect work, all those perfect materials, just gone, wasted. And why? Because the core idea, the foundation, was wrong from the very beginning. And that right there perfectly explains the big idea for today. This is the crucial difference between strategy and tactics. See, if your main plan, your strategy is wrong, it literally doesn't matter how amazing your execution is. It doesn't matter how perfect your tactics are. The end result? It's still going to be zero. It's still failure. So, getting this difference is absolutely key. Strategy, that's your big picture. It's the what and the why. It's the foundation itself. Tactics, that's the how. That's the day-to-day action, the bricks and mortar. And look, you can have the best bricks and the best mortar on earth, but if you're building on sand, you're just doomed from the start.
And history is just filled with these cautionary tales, right? I mean, think about it. Drilling a perfect 90-meter well with top-of-the-line gear, only to realize there was never any water there to begin with. Oops. Or what about that shoe company looking at Africa? One report says, nobody wears shoes. It's a terrible market. The other says, nobody wears shoes. It's a huge market. The tactics are simple. Make shoes. But the strategy you choose there changes everything. Heck, even ants get this wrong. They'll build a flawless nest in a sparkling clean bathroom, but there's no food, so they're just toast.
Okay, so these stories are great, but what does this actually mean for us? For you? For your career, your personal life, your happiness? How do we stop building our own skyscrapers on sand? Well, the source material breaks it down into 3 basic rules.
All right, rule number 1 is play to your strengths.
This is all about focusing on what you're naturally good at, and just as important, what you actually love to do. Look, the first big strategic move you can make in life is to line up what you do with who you are. If you're constantly forcing yourself to do something that just doesn't fit, well, you're building on sand. You're fighting against your own nature, and trust me, that is a battle you are never, ever going to win.
And this is such a great way to think about it. Imagine Mother Teresa, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, spending her life in a lab studying radioactive elements. Would that have worked? No way. Or flip it around. Imagine Marie Curie, one of the greatest scientific minds ever, running an orphanage. It's just wrong. See, they were both absolute geniuses, but their genius was specific. Putting all that incredible talent in the wrong place, that's a huge strategic mistake, and it would have just led to a life of total failure and frustration for both of them.
Okay, let's get to the second rule, which is all about mastering your timing. Because it's not just about what you do, it's about when you do it. The ancient Greeks had a word for this, kairos, which means like the perfect, opportune moment to act. The Chinese have a similar concept, tianxi. The idea is simple. There's a right season for everything. You plant seeds in the spring, you harvest in the fall. If you try to act against that natural flow, no matter how hard you work, you're setting yourself up to fail.
And you see this play out in real life all the time. Think of a super passionate democracy activist speaking out when the political climate is just completely against them. I mean, their courage is incredible, their ideas might be perfect, but the timing is just off. So instead of bringing change, they end up in jail. Or take the amazing business-savvy folks from Yiwu in China. During the Cultural Revolution, being good at business was a bad thing. It could get you in serious trouble. But now, today, those exact same skills are celebrated, and they've made their city world famous. It's the same people, the same skills, just a different time. And that changes the outcome completely.
And that leads us right into our third and final practical rule, know your place.
Now, this is all about understanding your role and your responsibilities. You have to know what your job is, and, just as crucially, what is not your job. When you constantly overstep your position, all you're doing is wasting your own energy and creating a bunch of unnecessary conflict.
I mean, we have all seen this person at work, right? The coworker who does nothing but complain about what the managers are doing or how another department is messing up. And hey, maybe they're even right, but it's not their job to fix it, so they accomplish absolutely nothing except making everyone dislike them. Or think about the super smart assistant GM who keeps picking apart every single decision the general manager makes. What happens? They get fired. All that talent just goes down the drain because of a simple strategic error. They didn't know their place.
You know, there's some really ancient wisdom that gets at this idea, famously attributed to Jesus. The whole point is to focus on your own stuff first, take care of your own responsibilities, do your own job as best you can. That is the most powerful thing you can do. You know the saying? First remove the beam from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's. Fretting about everyone else's tiny problems when you've got a giant one of your own, that's just terrible strategy.
Okay, so we've got our 3 big rules. Play your strengths, master your timing, and know your place. But what if I told you that these are all just tactics for a much, much bigger strategy? The source material argues there's one single massive question that sits above all of this. And here it is. This is framed as the ultimate strategic question for your entire life. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? This really forces you to ask, what is the actual end goal here? What am I optimizing for? Because if you get that wrong, well, nothing else you do is going to matter. And this right here is where so many of us make a massive, catastrophic mistake in our life strategy. We trade our actual life force, our health, our sanity, our peace of mind, for what are essentially just tactical goals, things like money, power, fame. We might even sacrifice ourselves for what seems like a noble cause, like family or country or some ideology. But from this ultimate strategic viewpoint, those are all just tactics. They aren't the real goal.
So what's the ultimate strategy? It's this. Your life force comes first. Period. The one non-negotiable grand strategy for your life is to protect and grow your own well-being, your health, your peace. That has to be the absolute center of your universe.
And here's the cool part. Once you really get that, everything else just becomes a game you can choose to play. You can play the career game, the money game, whatever. But you always remember that they are just games. And the real prize, your life itself, is never, ever on the table.
So I want to leave you with this one question to really think about. When you look at your own life, at all the hard work you put in every single day, are you building a skyscraper, or are you just building a really elaborate sandcastle? Is all that perfect effort going into something that will last, or something that's just going to get washed away by the very next tide?